There's a new shipment of human pups at the pet store. For 16,000. You can buy a girl as young as 5 years old. The younger the pup, the higher the price. And the adult humans, they're used as breeding tools. They're inspected daily, and if they're malnourished, they're executed on the spot. Because in this world, animals are the masters. They keep humans in captivity as animals with a price tag. One day, Mrs. Bunny came into the pet store with a sad face. She pushed open the pet store door in a hurry. Inside, humans of every description were on display. But the rabbit was not interested in any of this. The purpose of his trip was to sell his product. A collar that makes it easy to keep humans in captivity. The fox receptionist was pleased with it. But before they could make a bid, their eyes were drawn to the new arrivals. A fresh batch of adult humans. The rabbit followed them in and saw a broken box in the corner, which meant a human had escaped. Turning his head, he sees the door to the breeding room is closed. He looks through the window and sees the goat owner inside sifting through the new arrivals. In a book, he records the medical reports of the humans. The boss calls the malnourished men to the present. To ensure good genes in the next generation, the bad ones will be killed naturally. The man was trembling with fear. In a moment of desperation, the man breaks free from the rope that binds him. But just as he was about to escape, the black bull bodyguard stepped on his hands. He aimed at the man's head and shot him. This is a common occurrence for animals. But when the rabbit outside the door sees it, he clenches his fists in anger. In the breeding room, a new life is born. A baby is numbered from birth, to set its price. Strangely enough, the rabbit outside the door had the same numbered list in his hand, so he was like this when he was young. At that moment, the flame of revenge was burning in the rabbit's heart. The collars he had sent earlier were all wired with bombs. With the push of a button in his hand, it will blow up the pet store. As the 30 seconds count down, the store's customers and children still don't know what's going on. And then a huge explosion hits the street. No animal was spared. The girl pours gasoline and burns her bunny coat. It turned out that the human who had escaped from the broken box was the girl herself. The nightmare seems to be over, but just by destroying a pet store, it will happen again. One day after the nuclear contamination, a school of four-legged mutant fish began to invade the continent. They deliberately flushed their bodies with nuclear wastewater, seeing the mutation as a sign of racial evolution. That morning, the little yellow fish lifted the blanket. He realized that he had 4 legs. He thought it was a gift from the gods. But when he stepped outside, there's a whole school of fish out there, except for him. They couldn't swim properly in the sea because they lost their balance with 4 legs. The yellowtail sees this and says it's a sign of evolution. At this point, the guards called an emergency meeting with all the fish. Suddenly, the mayor of the village says that this is a punishment from God. The youngest fish must be sacrificed to God in order for their bodies to return to normal. When they heard this, the fish were half convinced. They voted on who would be sacrificed to God. Then the yellowtail came out and said it was evolution. But the other fish didn't believe it. But the yellowtail explains that life began with plankton. When Huang said that, and his companions laughed, despite his objections, they continued the ritual. The fish who were about to be sacrificed for their own lives began to believe him. They were divided into 2 groups and started to fight. The mayor was the first to capture the fish that was causing the commotion. But he's young and strong, and he's coming back. The mayor was about to be crushed to pieces by the yellowtail. In a moment of desperation, he turns around and crawls on the ground with his 4 legs. At this moment, all the fish stop fighting and admire the miracle of 4 legs. The fish all started to believe in Yellow's theory and worshipped him as the new village chief. And right after that, the fish began to train themselves to walk. And when they're all good at it, the little yellowtail is the first to go. He's the first to rise to the surface in the presence of his peers. He opens his eyes. Then without hesitation, he takes his first step. Then he realizes there's nothing to be afraid of on land. And so the schools of fish begin to land on the beach. But they don't even notice what's going on around them. Burning industrial waste and leaking nuclear sewage. And the unaware fish run down to play and even lose their eyes. When the yellow fish saw it, they called it a super revolution. As the yellowtail basks in the worship of the fish, a huge light illuminated the sky. A helicopter landed in front of them. From it, 2 humans in chemical suits stepped down. One of them grabs the fish. He puts him in a glass bottle and takes him away with ease. The fish think that God is punishing him. The fish think that God has punished Yellow. Then they return to the ocean where they live.